Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, I'm Nick. I'm one of Seth's students. I took this course a while back, and now I'm freelancing, managing some AdWords accounts, some Facebook ads, and also a few WordPress websites as well. And today I'm going to show you 5 tips for managing small Google Ads accounts. And by small, I mean an account that's spending $1,000 a month or less. This is important because this is probably what you guys are going to be starting out on. So I thought I'd give you some tips on that. Now, before I do that, I just want to introduce you to the client I'm going to be using for this. So here's one of my clients right now. These guys are a company called That Worship Sound, and this is their website right here. And they're basically an e-commerce company that sells DAW patches for worship musicians. And if you have no idea what that is, just fine. Just think music software. That's basically what it is. Like, you can do stuff with guitar and bass, but anyway, it's a music software company. That's all you need to know. So without further ado, let's get into the actual tips. So tip number 1. Tip number 1 is less campaigns, more ad groups. Now, the reason I say this is because, remember, the campaigns is where you have the budget level. You can set a daily budget. The problem is that the daily budgets, even if they're small, they add up really quickly. Now, this is a problem if your budget is only $600 or $700 a month, because, I mean, if you have 5 campaigns that each have a $10 a day budget, that's $50 a day. And if your budget's only a few $100s a month, you're going to burn through it really quickly. And you typically want to give your campaign like a $10 budget per day at minimum. And so what I'd recommend is you focus on the ad group level just to make sure that your budget is enough to get you through each month. Now, at the ad group level, you won't have quite as much control as the campaign level, but sometimes sacrifices have to be made. So going over to the That Worship Sound account, you can see here the only ones I have enabled right now are a search campaign, so for targeting people in the USA on the desktops, and because that's where I found most of our sales come from. And then I've got a remarketing campaign. But that's it for the campaign level. And they each have $10 a day. And so in total, I'm spending about $20 a day. So if you go into the ad group level here, you see I've got quite a few ad groups. I've got branded terms, which if you don't know what that is, that's basically when you bid on your company's name just to keep your competitors from doing it. So I've got Worship Essentials 2, which is their best-selling product. We've got ambient pads, and I've got one advertising products that use a software called MainStage 3, which they also sell stuff for. But you see, most of the specific parts of the account are on the ad group level. And ideally, this would have its own campaign, and definitely this one. The problem is I'd have to give them at least $10 a day for them to really do anything. And I'm already spending $20 a day here. So if I added those 2 extra campaigns, I'd be pushed up to $40 a day. And since this account has a limited budget, I'm not going to say exactly how much, but it's a little bit less than $1,000. You know, at $40 a day, that would burn through the budget really quickly. So kind of as a compromise, I just have them as ad groups. And the same deal with the remarketing campaign, even though I only have 1 ad group right now. So, but this is probably what you'd want to do to start out. Like, you'd have a few campaigns, but you'd have a ton of ad groups within those campaigns. But as you get a little better at it and start working on larger accounts, then you have a little bit more room to just add more campaigns and have a little bit of control. So that is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is with smaller accounts, you got to focus on quality score and negative keywords. Now, this applies to no matter how big or small your budget is, but I think it's especially important for lower volume accounts because, and you'll see why. So quality score, in case you don't know, it's a newer metric from Google Ads. I think it's about a year old at this point, definitely younger than this course. So quality score is Google's way of ranking the quality of your ad from 1 to 10. 1 is the worst, 10's the best. And it's basically made up of relevance, how relevant your landing page is, how this relevance, etc. And it's really, and this is at the keyword level. You want to make sure you have high quality keywords. Otherwise, Google isn't going to serve it as many times or give you a really good deal as a cost per click. Luckily, Google Ads has this thing called a script that can actually identify low quality keywords and pause it for you. I'll show you that real quick. So scripts are basically these little ways of automating the Google Ads accounts. You can access them right here. The only one I have going right now, I'll show you real quick, is a low quality score alert. And what it basically is, it's this long string of code that you can just copy and paste. And I set this to run every day. And so it can go in there and look at all the keywords. And if the quality score of the keyword is lower than what you want, like let's say 5, it can automatically pause it for you. And you can tell the quality score of a keyword by going to the keywords here and hovering over the little status thing. You see this one has a quality score of 5, 8, that's a really good one. I think I have a 10. Yep, there's a 10. There's a 7. So you notice none of the ones that are enabled right now have a quality score lower than 5, because I put the script in there. And every time a keyword's quality score drops below 5, so 4, it'll pause it. It'll automatically pause it, like this one here, worship guitar, worship keyboard sounds. So once these keywords are paused, you really have 2 options. You could just keep it paused, or you could see if there's anything you could do to increase it. I guess with these ones, I decided they weren't worth going after. Just focus on the keywords that have already been performing really well. So I'm sure Seth will link this script down in the description below, because I would highly recommend downloading it. If he doesn't, just reach out to me and I can hook you up with it. But yeah, this script is really good and I'd highly recommend using it. That'll help with the quality score. Next part of this is negative keywords. Now, Seth already told us what negative keywords are. It's when you say that you don't want your ad to show for these specific keywords or keywords that have this certain term in it. Now, especially with smaller accounts, negative keywords are your friend. Because at this level, what I've found is most of your day-to-day tasks for smaller accounts is just going to be pouring through the search terms report and just filtering out bad search terms. Like, this is especially true when you've just started running ads, because typically when you're setting up a Google Ads account, you'll come up with a little list of universal negative keywords like careers and how-to and stuff like that. But the first time you start running ads, you'll find that a fair amount of them are maybe not the best terms that you'd want to be found for. But that's really valuable information, because then you can mark all of those as negative keywords. So that's what I'd recommend doing. Because when I started running that Worship Sound account, I think I spent most of my time, whenever I checked on it, just looking through the search terms report of each ad group and just filtering out any keywords that I didn't want to be found for. And over time, that has really helped the return on the ad spend and the revenue generated, the cost per conversion and whatnot. So make sure you're focusing on that. Seth already touched on it, but trust me, it is very important. So that's step 3. Oh, okay. So tip number 3 is pay attention to why you're losing impressions or clicks at a small level. So remember that metric Seth taught us about, search impression share? If you don't remember, it's basically how many impressions your ad received divided by how many it could have received. And so you want that number to be as high as possible, because that means your ad is being shown to as many people as possible. Now, a low impression share means that your ads are either limited by a budget and or they suck and they have a low quality score. And it's almost always one of those two. And until recently, this used to be guesswork to figure out which one it is, or if it was both. But luckily, Google Ads has evolved, and now it has tools that can tell you why you're losing impressions. So going back to the AdWords account here. Oops. Get out of the keywords here. I like to show it at the ad. I'll show you at the ad group level. So you got your standard data here, like impressions, clicks, click-through rate, and whatnot. But if you scroll here a little bit, you have your search impression share. And this is a new one that they installed a few months ago called Search Lost Impression Share on Rank. And what this basically means is it says, oh, okay, you're only getting about 60% of the impressions you could have gotten. Why aren't you getting the other however much percent? And it'll group it. It says, okay, this percentage was lost because your ads weren't very good. And this much, for budget, it shows you, it shows you how much because you aren't spending enough. And as you can see here, almost all of the lost impressions are because of a low ad rank. And that's good because it means that you can get your quality, because it means you can get the quality score up and just improve it that way. Similar deal here. The vast majority of it is the rank, not the budget. And so as you could see in there, it'll tell you if it's lost as a result of budget or rank. Now, if it's due to rank, that's good because it means you can improve the quality score by, doing simple things like testing new ad copy, split testing, having a good landing page to send people to when they click on the ad, make sure your ads are super relevant, and set appropriate bids. Because ad rank is a little bit different than quality score. Like ad rank, I believe, is calculated by your quality score times your max cost per click. If you want to improve your rank, you could do all of this. And if you notice the bid is too low, you could try adjusting the bid a little bit and see if that improves your rank. And so this is what you can do if it's limited by your ad rank. Now, if you're losing impressions due to your budget, which is a little different, it means that you need to talk to the client about increasing the budget so that you can get more impressions and more clicks, or you have to explain to them, if it's not possible, that these results will be limited by the budget, and that if they want to have it at the max potential, they have to increase the budget. So for that worship sound, it seems like I'm mostly losing impressions due to rank right now, so I'll probably just write a new round of ads, make sure the landing pages are in order, which they are. I've already done that, so I'll probably just check on the bids after I'm done here. But if I did find that I'm losing increasingly more impressions due to the budget, I would definitely have to sit down with the owner of this company and tell them, hey, look, man, we got to increase the budget because otherwise we're losing all this potential business. So that is step 3. And step 4 is, or tip number 4 is be responsive. Now this not only applies to Google Ads, but it applies to digital marketing in general and just life in general. Because, when a client messages you, you answer as quickly as you can. You don't have to answer right then and there, but you really should be getting back to people within 24 hours or so, unless you're like camping or something. What I see a lot of people do when they get clients, even some agencies, is they do what I call, they go down the rabbit hole with their client's money. And what that basically means is they say, okay, Mr. Client, I'm going to manage, $20,000 a month in ad spend. Now I'm just going to go down the rabbit hole and do it, and you won't hear from me. Don't do that. That will annoy the clients. Just being responsive and answering any questions they have, or just reaching out to them to give them small little updates really goes a long way, because 1, it's professional, and it will help the client trust you. It's like, one thing my clients really like about me, my website client, is that whenever they text me or something, asking a question about the Google Ads account or the website, I'm always on it. I usually respond to them within a few hours or so. But yeah, just make sure that you aren't sitting on any emails, and that will go a long way to being perceived as more likable and trustworthy. All right, number 5 is don't go into too much detail when you're reporting. And what that means is most agencies and freelancers, they're going to send monthly reports to their clients and to let them know how their ads are performing. Now, that is a good idea. It's very good to do that. But the problem is, from what I've seen, most of these reports are full of information that the client doesn't understand or really care about, kind of like Peter Griffin. I think that's what most of these clients are thinking when they have these giant 10-page reports that talk about broad match keywords and bid adjustments and whatnot. That's really your job to know that, not the clients. What you got to remember is that the clients, at the end of the day, the clients care about one thing. Are the ads generating more money than they cost? Because remember, the point of all these Google Ads campaigns is to generate sales or leads. And so clients, because of that, clients love when you can explain what you're doing in plain English. They will love you, just like Tony Stark in the Avengers, said he can talk to Bruce Banner about science stuff. Whereas Captain America here and the other Avengers don't really know what they're talking about. So when I signed on with that worship sound to manage their Google Ads account, I figured, okay, these guys don't really know that much about digital marketing, and they probably don't really care. That's my job. So instead of sending a long report with screenshots of the Google Ads account, what I basically did, and what I do every month, is I jump on a Hangouts call with Tyler, he's the guy who hired me, and this other guy who's the owner of the company. And I basically tell them how things were going in plain English, which basically amounts to me saying, okay, we spent this much per month on ads, and we've generated this revenue as a result, which at the end of the day is what they care about. In fact, I can actually, okay, here's one of I think this is the first report I did. So you can see here, it's really plain English, really simple. I'm not going into too much detail. I have a little screenshot here, and I'd circled the cost and the revenue generated as a result, which is ultimately what they care about. And so just tell them that they've been doing that. We haven't been blowing money on stupid, irrelevant clicks because I've been going in there sorting out the negative keywords, like I told you in step 3. And so I like to end my reports usually with what we should be doing next month. This was the first month and we hadn't done anything with landing pages yet. So I told them, look, we got to get lead pages or click funnels so we can build those landing pages. I could put some broader keywords. But you can see here, it's really simple, plain English. I'm not going into too much detail. I mean, they ask me questions occasionally about what specifically each metric on the Google Ads thing means, and I'll answer those. But as part of the report, you can see it's very simple. And honestly, if you're doing smaller accounts, I'd recommend you do that as well. Now down the line, you might have more sophisticated clients that actually do care about cost per click and stuff like that. And if they want that, fine. But I would be willing to bet that most of these small businesses just want to make sure that the ads are generating more money than they cost. So be simple when you're reporting. Oops, lost my place here. And so that's, kind of a bonus tip. A little bonus tip is split testing is still important for smaller accounts, but in smaller accounts, you're not going to do it as often. And remember what Seth said, typically you want 100 clicks before you make a decision of what ad to keep and what to toss. But with larger accounts, this could happen every week or even every few days, and you do it then. Now, lower budget accounts obviously aren't going to get as many clicks or have as high volume of traffic, so it'll take a lot longer to reach 100 clicks of data. So depending on how fast or slow you get clicks, you might only need to write a new round of ads once or twice a month. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, that worship sound, it typically takes about 3 or 4 weeks to get 100 clicks. So I usually only write a new round of ads once a month or once they hit 100 clicks, but you'd better believe I'm still doing it. I'm still looking at the data. I'm just not doing it as often. So definitely make sure you are split testing and, writing new ad copy and all that. But just keep in mind that for smaller accounts, you won't do it as often. So that's my video, guys. Hope you liked it. Have Seth put my LinkedIn in the description so you can reach out to me with questions, and I'll see you guys later.